Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beermance Episode 2. My name is Philip Davis.
I'm Angela Davis.
And we're here to talk about grain. So, beer is made of 4 different ingredients, and over the next few episodes we're going to cover all of them, but today it's about grains. The other ingredients that are used regularly in beer are hops, water, and yeast. Those 4 ingredients mixed together make what beer is all about. Now, there's other things that get added to beer, but those are the most important ones that make beer what it really is. The rest of them are kind of a chef's specialty that help kind of give the flavors a little bit more of a zing, if you will, or a little bit of a change from the standard. So in this episode, we're going to focus on grains, and specifically malted grains.
Okay, so what's malt?
Malt. Malt is a way that they take the regular grain and convert it into kind of a sugar factory, right?
Okay.
So before we get too much into malt, though, I want to quickly cover what kinds of grains are used in beer.
Okay, what kind of grains are used in beer?
Well, the kind of grains that are used in beer mostly is barley.
Okay.
But also, quite often, brewers like to use wheat, and occasionally they'll use rye. There's also some beers that are made to be gluten-free, so they'll use sorghum, or there's other kinds of inventive people trying any kind of grain that they can get sugar out of and make into a beer. But basically, most people drink beer that's made out of barley.
All right, next question. How is malt made?
So malt is made by taking the grains and laying them out and covering them in water enough to make them start growing. Grain is just the seed of a plant. As the plant just starts germinating and releasing some of the chemicals that make that happen, it creates a state where the sugar is just readily available. At that point, the maltster, which is the person that's job is doing the malting of the grain and understanding the whole process, says, okay, it's time now that we stop this process. To stop it, they load all the grain quickly into a kiln and they'll heat it to cook off all that excess water and to stop that germination process. At that point, we now have a very sugar-heavy grain that is ready to be used in making a beer.
Does grain have any effect on the color of the beer?
Absolutely. The grain, when it first gets done through that kilning process, will be very light golden color, very similar to this, and that's how the color comes like that in a beer. But as you've probably seen, beer's color ranges from a kind of that light golden color into reds and browns and dark browns and an almost black color, if not definitely a black color. And that gives you the color range, but also each of those different kind of colored grains has slightly different flavor. The flavors change. The more you heat those grains, the more they caramelize and create certain flavors. Also, the darkness adds roasted flavors, kind of like if you have coffee, you have a blonde roast, and then you have a very dark roast, and you have roasts in the middle as well.
Like girlfriends on the side, blonde and brunette. Oh, wait, what? No?
Yeah, you're going to let me have a girlfriend on the side. Cool. Oh. So, effectively, that gives the brewer a very large selection of ingredients just on the grain side to create what they want. Now, if you think about that, it's a pretty powerful tool because I checked at a recent online retailer that sells grains for home brewers. They had 327 different kinds of grains.
Wow.
That's a huge palette. Now, some of those are duplicates in the sense that an American grain versus a Canadian grain versus a British grain versus a Belgian or whatever. Each of those countries do it in a slightly different way, and so the subtle variations of these flavors that make each country's beers a little different. Now, American brewers are sometimes trying to emulate a German brewer or a British brewer, and vice versa. So they will quite often, brewers from different areas, buy grains from other areas to get a sense of what that beer might taste like from that area. So that's part of why there's so many different variations, but also there are many different colors. You've got grains that go from what's called a biscuit malt to a chocolate malt to a black patent malt to all kinds of degrees in the sun. Now, most of the crystal or caramel malts vary in colors in degrees, and so you use a little bit of some of those to get a specific color or where you want that to be. So really for me, that's one of the funnest things about beer. I've been a home brewer for quite a while now, and I love trying to tweak just a little bit of this malt and a little bit of that malt and mixing it with other things like hops and the right kind of yeast, and we'll discuss those later, but it's a lot of fun creating all these different beers.
Smells good too. I do
Yes.
like it when you're brewing beer.
Yeah.
It smells good.
So I hope this episode has been helpful for you to understand what grain is used for in beer and why it's so important. To be honest, people call beer liquid bread because it has such a great kind of bready, malted, yummy flavor that you can't really explain without you having tasted it.
You put butter No, like
No.
toast.
In fact, buttery flavors in beer, that is a bad thing.
Oh, so it's not liquid toast, just liquid bread.
That's our show for today. Oh wait, you thought I'd forgot, didn't you? It's tasting time. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and today's beer is a Pilsner. And it's a Pilsner from Belgium. This company is called Stella Artois. We're not trying to shill for these companies. They're not giving us any money. It's just I'm picking some different beers and giving them a try. So this beer is a great beer. I like it. As you can see, I've been sipping it as we've been doing the filming. And it's got a very nice, simple, malty flavor. The hop signature is very light and subtle. You get mostly just the grain. There's even, in some pills, there's a kind of a corn flavor because they use adjuncts. And I'll discuss adjuncts in another episode. But basically, they're designed to be very simple, easy drinking. Not a strong hop flavor or strong hop bitterness. Just straightforward kind of a malt flavor with a very subtle bitterness. So we'll go ahead and give this one a try. And yeah, all you smell out of that for me is just a lot of grain flavor. Very easy to drink though, very simple, smooth, great tasting beer.
Would you say there's a little bit of like an apple taste, or do I just smell?
You might, again, your palate is very sensitive, much more so than mine. So
Okay.
every beer will have some flavors like that are very subtle, and some days I sense them better than others as well, but it's very possible.
Here we go.
Cheers. And there you have it, folks.
Delicious.
The face that launched 1,000 ships, no? All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
I'll get it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great one, and let us know in the comments if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. Thanks.
Thank you. Drink responsibly.
Cheers.
Yummy.